This is section 4.4 on factoring using another method called the AC method. So this is a continuation of what we did yesterday in section 4.3 with the different factoring methods, simple trinomial, difference of squares, and so on. This method is called AC method. So this is specifically useful if you have a number in the front and not just a 1. Remember, in standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c. So what we're going to do is take the a term times the c term and multiply them together. 3 times 8 would be 24. Now, we need to figure out what multiplies together to give us that 24 value, but that will add to give us the middle number of 10. So two numbers that multiply together to give you 24, add to give you 10, would be 6 and 4. So what we're going to do is cut and paste. We're going to cut out the 10x and we're going to paste in 6x plus 4x instead. So we're replacing, cut out the middle, replace with two values. Now we have four terms. 3x squared plus 6x plus 4x plus 8. Now we can just do a factor by grouping. So we'll cut this in half. The first group, 3x squared plus 6x, they have a 3x in common. We're left with x plus 2. Immediately after the curtain, we've got a plus sign, so always put that sign down that you see immediately after the curtain. 4x plus 8, we're going to take out a 4, so we are taking out a positive 4. What we're left with, again, is x plus 2. Now, if you did this correctly, your x plus 2's, these brackets should match. Take that bracket out, write it down one time. Now your leftovers will go in the back bracket. 3x plus 4 goes in the back bracket. That's a way that you can always get factoring to work when you have a number in the front. All right, let's try this one. 6x squared plus x minus 15. A times c, 6 times negative 15, negative 90. Two numbers that multiply together to give us negative 90. They will add up to give us positive 1. 10 and 9, 10 will be positive, 9 will be negative. 6x squared plus 10x minus 9x minus 15. Cut it in half. The first two have 3x in common. We're left with 2x plus, oops, sorry, wrong numbers going in here. Let's do this over again. Take out a 2, do that over, sorry. Take out a 2x, we're left with 3x plus 5. There we go. Now, immediately after the curtain, we have our minus sign. 9 and 15, we'll take out a 3, so we're really dividing out a negative 3. Divide out that negative 3 leaves us with 3x, and negative 15 divided by negative 3, positive 5. Now, your brackets match exactly. Cross that off, write it down one time, and then your leftovers, 2x minus 3. You can always check to see if you're on the right track with those as well. You could just go back and do the FOIL over again. Make sure that you come up with the exact same thing as what this started with. That's the way you check to see if you factored correctly. All right, a couple things we need to practice on, just to make sure we can remember. Difference of squares, we saw that yesterday. A lot of times you might have problems that are difference of squares, but your numbers are actually larger. Still, you should be able to recognize your perfect square values. 81 and 25 are both perfect squares, and as long as they have the minus sign in the middle, this is factorable. 9x plus 5, 9x minus 5. Done. 49x squared plus 112x plus 64. You might look at that and say, oh my gosh, I have to do AC on that, that's going to be huge. Well, no you don't. 49 and 64 are perfect squares, so you should be thinking, maybe I can do my perfect square trinomial trick. 49 comes from 7. 64 comes from 8. If I multiply these two together, I get 56. Is 56 doubled 112? Yes. That means this will factor easily into 7x plus 8 quantity squared. And you're done. Watch for those things. Those are clues to help you. Perfect squares in both the front and the back. Now, the one thing that you should always do when you're looking at any type of factoring is, can you take out something in common first? So on this first one, yes, you've got a 3 in common. Take that 3 out. that leaves you with x squared minus 100. Once you take something out, you might find that you now have something that's easy to factor, that's recognizable from something we've done in the past. X squared minus 100, difference of squares. X plus 10, x minus 10. The one thing that you want to remember is that if you take something out in the beginning, you have to write it down. You can't just divide by 3 and then poof, it's out in thin air someplace. Make sure you write down numbers that you have in common. 8m squared minus 28m minus 120. What do those all have in common? 4. Take the 4 out. 2m squared minus 7m minus 30. Now we have an AC like we just worked on. 2 times negative 30 is negative 60. Two numbers that could multiply to give us negative 60 that will add up to give us negative 7 would be 12 and 5. We're going to need negative and positive. Oh, this is actually should be a plus sign right here. 8m squared plus 28. This is plus. So this is plus, and this is minus 5. Okay, now we'll do our cut and paste. 2m squared plus 12m minus 5m minus 30. Cut it in half. They have 2 and an m in common. I'm left with m plus 6. I see a negative sign, and they have a 5. So then I divide out negative 5. I'm left with m plus 6. M plus 6 is common, so I'll write that down one time. I'll move over here. And then my leftovers are 2m minus 5. And remember what it was that we took out at the very, very beginning of this? 4. Make sure you remember to put that 4 in the front of that whole thing. Okay, we'll do this one right here. Negative 7t squared minus 63t. This is just 2 terms. A lot of times if you have two terms, you're just looking to see if they have something in common, and then you might be finished. This one has a negative, a 7, and a t that they all have in common. What am I left with? T, and be careful on your sign, plus 5. If I factor out the negative and a 7, it leaves me with a positive, oops, not 5, 9, sorry, 9. Negative 7t, quantity, t plus 9. Okay, we're going to go to solving. Look at one question here. When you're asked to solve an equation, remember you're looking for solutions to this answer. So after you get your factoring done, you have to take those two pieces out using your zero product property and see what you can come up with for answers. So you should be able to get x equals answers. And there's another clue that you can use to know how many answers you're going to get. Whatever the highest degree is that you see tells you how many solutions you'll get. So since this is in the second degree, that means I'm going to get 2 answers when I'm done. Okay, so 4x squared minus 17x minus 15. This again is another AC method question. 4 times negative 15, negative 60. Two numbers that could multiply to give us negative 60 to give us negative 17. 20 and 3, and I'll need the 20 to be the negative sign. Cut and paste. 4x squared minus 20x plus 3x minus 15. Cut it in half. We could take out a 4 and an x. We're left with x minus 5. The plus sign comes first. They have a 3 in common. I'm left with x minus 5. The x minus 5s are in common, matching, so I'll write that down once. And I'm left with 4x plus 3. Now this is an equation set equal to 0. Now I use my zero product property. Pull each one of these out and solve. Sorry, x minus 5 and x equals 5. There's one answer. And then here, 4x plus 3 equals 0. 4x equals negative 3, and x is negative 3/4. 2 answers like we thought, solving x equals 5, negative 3/4. Okay, I do believe that's it. Yes, it is. All right, so there's a helpful hint on AC method factoring, which you will see a lot of. throughout the course of the year. So we'll be looking at this process again. And then some other methods with taking things out that you have in common, difference of squares again. So a continuation of what we did in section 4.3 with the reminder on factoring.